Don't scroll. Just pause for a second because something about this moment isn't ordinary, and deep down you can already feel that. You didn't just open this randomly, and I know that sounds like something you've heard before, but stay with me, because this isn't about fear. And it's not about forcing you to believe anything. It's about that strange feeling you've been trying to ignore lately. That quiet pull in your chest. That moment when everything goes silent for no reason. Like the world is waiting for you to notice something. You felt it, haven't you? Maybe late at night when your phone is the only light in the room. Or early in the morning when you wake up before your alarm. Staring at the ceiling like your mind is trying to tell you something your words can't explain. That's not nothing. That's not random. That's awareness trying to break through the noise. And the truth is, you've been moving fast, trying to keep up with everything. Trying not to fall behind. Trying to act like you've got control. But there's a part of you that knows something is shifting beneath the surface. Not in a dramatic, magical way, but in a real human way. The kind of shift that happens before something in your life changes direction. And maybe you've been feeling more tired than usual. Not just physically, but mentally, like you're carrying thoughts that don't even belong to you anymore. Maybe people around you feel different lately. Conversations feel forced. Things that used to excite you don't hit the same, and you don't even know why. That's not you losing yourself. That's you outgrowing something. And nobody really talks about how uncomfortable that part is. Everyone talks about success, glow-ups, leveling up, but nobody tells you about the confusion that comes right before it. The silence, the distance, the weird feeling like you're in between two versions of yourself. That's where you are right now. And if that resonates even a little, then you already know this message isn't here to scare you. It's here to make you stop and actually look at what's happening inside your own life. Because you've been asking for change, even if you didn't say it out loud. Every time you felt stuck, every time you thought, there has to be more than this. Every time you got tired of repeating the same patterns, that was you asking for something different. But here's the part nobody warns you about. When change actually starts coming, it doesn't feel comfortable. It feels uncertain. It feels like things are falling apart instead of coming together. And most people run from that moment because it doesn't look like what they expected. But what if this is exactly the moment where everything starts shifting for you? Not because something magical is happening in the sky, but because something real is happening inside you. Think about it. How many times have you ignored your instincts just to keep things normal? How many times have you stayed in situations that didn't feel right just because leaving felt harder? How many times have you told yourself it's fine when you knew it wasn't? That version of you is starting to fade. And yeah, that's uncomfortable, because it means you can't go back to being unaware. You can't pretend anymore. You can't unsee what you've started to realize. And maybe that's why this moment feels heavier than usual. Because a part of you is waking up. And once that happens, things begin to change, whether you're ready or not. But here's the good part. The part that actually matters. You're not behind. You're not late. You're not missing out on anything that was meant for you. You're just finally starting to see clearly. And clarity changes everything. It changes how you look at people, how you react to situations, how you handle your own thoughts. It makes you question things you used to accept without thinking. And yeah, that can feel lonely sometimes because not everyone around you is on the same wavelength. But that doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means you're growing. And growth isn't loud. It's quiet. It happens in moments like this, when you stop scrolling, when you stop distracting yourself, when you actually sit with your thoughts for a second and ask yourself what's really going on. So instead of rushing past this, just take a breath and be honest with yourself for a moment. What have you been avoiding? What have you been feeling but not saying? What part of your life doesn't feel right anymore? Because whatever just came to your mind right now, that's where your next change is going to start. And it's not going to come all at once. It's not going to be some overnight transformation. It's going to be small decisions, small shifts, small moments where you choose differently than you used to. And those small choices are what slowly change everything. You don't need a sign from the sky. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to stop ignoring what you already feel. Because the truth is, you already know more than you think. You've just been doubting it. But doubt doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means you're stepping into something new. And new always feels uncertain at first, so don't rush this moment. Don't scroll past it like it's just another post. Because even if nothing else, this is your reminder to pause, to breathe, and to actually listen to yourself for once. Not the noise, not the pressure, not what everyone else expects. Just you. Because whatever is changing in your life right now, it's not here to break you. It's here to move you. And whether you realize it or not, it's already started. Don't move too fast right now, because what you felt while reading the first part wasn't just a random moment of connection. It was your mind finally slowing down enough to notice something that's been building for a while. And the truth is, this isn't the beginning of that shift. This is just the point where you finally became aware of it, because something in your life has already been rearranging itself quietly behind the scenes. Not in some supernatural way, but in the way patterns start breaking without warning. In the way certain people begin to feel distant even when they're still around. In the way situations that once felt normal now feel out of place. And you've been noticing it, even if you haven't fully admitted it yet. Because there's a difference between seeing change and accepting it. And right now, you're standing right in the middle of that gap, where part of you wants to hold on to what's familiar, and another part of you knows it's time to move forward, even if you don't know where that path leads yet. And that tension you've been feeling, that mix of uncertainty and quiet anticipation, that's not confusion. That's transition. That's what it feels like when your life starts shifting directions before you have all the answers. And most people miss this moment. They either ignore it or they rush through it. But this is actually where everything important begins. Because what's coming into your life next isn't going to arrive the way you expect it to. It won't look like the exact thing you've been asking for. It won't feel instantly comfortable. And that's exactly why a lot of people push it away without even realizing it. Because they're looking for something obvious, something easy to recognize, something that fits perfectly into the version of life they already understand. But real change doesn't work like that. It shows up disguised as inconvenience, as discomfort, as something that forces you to think differently. And right now, there's something moving toward you that's going to test how ready you actually are for the change you've been wanting. Not in a dramatic way, but in a subtle, almost quiet way. Where at first it just feels like another normal moment, another conversation, another opportunity, another situation. But underneath that surface, there's something bigger attached to it, something that has the potential to shift your direction completely. And the only difference between missing it and recognizing it is awareness. Because if you're still looking at life the same way you used to, you'll treat it like just another passing moment. But if you're paying attention, if you're actually present, you'll feel that slight difference, that small signal that tells you this isn't the same as before. And that's where your choice comes in. Not a big dramatic decision, just a small shift in how you respond, how you react, how you trust what you're feeling instead of overthinking it. Because overthinking has been one of the biggest things holding you back, hasn't it? Constantly trying to analyze every possibility, every outcome, every risk, until you end up doing nothing at all. Staying in the same place because it feels safer than stepping into something uncertain. But what if staying where you are is actually the bigger risk now? What if the discomfort you've been feeling lately isn't something to escape, but something pushing you forward? Because think about it. How long have you been in this in-between state? Not fully satisfied, not completely unhappy, just stuck in a loop that doesn't really go anywhere. And maybe you've been telling yourself you'll change things later, when the timing feels right, when you feel more ready, when things become clearer. But clarity doesn't come before action, it comes after. It comes when you start moving, even if you're not completely sure yet. And that's the part you're stepping into now, a phase where things won't make perfect sense right away, where you might question yourself, where you might feel like you're making the wrong move at times. But that's only because you're doing something different, and different always feels unfamiliar at first. But unfamiliar doesn't mean wrong, it just means new. And right now, your life is asking you to stop waiting for everything to line up perfectly, and instead, start paying attention to what's already shifting around you, because something is about to show up. Something that will seem small at first, maybe even insignificant, but it's going to carry more weight than you realize. And the way you respond to it is going to matter more than the thing itself. Because this isn't about one moment. It's about what that moment leads to, the direction it pushes you in, the version of yourself it starts to bring out, and you don't need to have everything figured out to handle it. You just need to be present enough to recognize that it's different, to not dismiss it too quickly, to not fall back into old patterns of doubt and hesitation, because those patterns belong to the version of you that's slowly being left behind. And the more you hold on to them, the harder this transition feels. But the moment you start letting go, even a little, things begin to flow differently. Opportunities feel clearer, decisions feel lighter, and that constant pressure in your mind starts to ease, because you're no longer fighting the change. You're moving with it, and that's where things start to open up in ways you didn't expect. Not all at once, not in some overwhelming wave, but step by step, moment by moment, in a way that feels almost natural once you stop resisting it. And maybe that's what this entire moment is really about. Not predicting your future, not telling you exactly what's going to happen, but preparing you to recognize it when it does. Because the truth is, your life doesn't need a dramatic sign to change. It just needs you to be ready when the next moment arrives. And that moment is closer than you think. Stay here for a moment. Don't rush away from this, because what you've been feeling isn't leading you nowhere. It's been leading you here, to this exact point where things finally begin to make sense. Not all at once, not perfectly, but enough for you to realize that something real has been shifting inside you this whole time. And now you're starting to see it clearly. Because the truth is, nothing in your life has been random lately. Not the emotions, not the distance, not the confusion, not even the moments where everything felt quiet and uncertain. Those weren't empty spaces. Those were transitions, and you were moving through them whether you understood it or not. And now you've reached the part where things begin to turn, where what once felt heavy starts to loosen its grip, where what once felt unclear starts to take shape. And it might not look dramatic from the outside. It might not be some sudden life-changing event that everyone can see. But inside, something is settling into place. Something is aligning. And that matters more than anything else, because real change doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it arrives in the form of clarity, in the form of a quiet realization that you can't go back to who you were before, that the version of you that used to tolerate, overthink, and hesitate is no longer in control the same way. And that realization changes everything, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you feel it, you can't ignore it. And that's where your power starts to come back. Not in a loud, confident way right away, but in small, steady decisions, in the way you start choosing differently without even forcing it, in the way certain things no longer feel worth your energy, in the way you stop chasing what doesn't feel right and start paying attention to what actually does. And that shift, as simple as it seems, is what begins to change your entire direction, because your life has always followed your patterns, and now your patterns are changing, which means everything connected to them will begin to change too. The people you connect with, the opportunities you notice, the way you handle situations that used to overwhelm you, and it won't happen all at once. It will unfold gradually, but you'll start to feel it. That difference in how you move through your days, that slight sense of control returning, not over everything around you, but over how you respond to it. And that's where things finally start working in your favor. Because you're no longer reacting out of habit, you're responding with awareness. And awareness is what creates change. Not luck, not perfect timing, not waiting for the right moment, but actually seeing what's in front of you and choosing differently. And now you're at a point where you can do that, where you don't need to keep repeating the same cycles, where you don't need to keep second-guessing every step, because even if you don't have all the answers, you have enough understanding to move forward. And that's all you ever needed. Not certainty, just enough clarity to take the next step and the next step after that. And that's how everything builds. Not in one big moment, but in a series of small decisions that slowly reshape your path. And maybe this isn't the ending you expected. Maybe you thought there would be a clear sign, a perfect confirmation, something that tells you exactly what's coming next. But instead, what you found is something more real than that. Something more useful, which is the understanding that you don't need to wait anymore. That whatever shift you are hoping for isn't something that's going to happen to you. It's something that starts with you, with the way you choose, the way you think, the way you move from this point forward. And that realization is what closes this moment, not as an ending, but as a turning point. Because from here, things don't stay the same. Not because of anything outside of you, but because you're no longer the same person who started reading this. You're more aware now, more honest with yourself, more willing to see things for what they are instead of what you wish they were. And that alone changes the direction you're heading in, even if it doesn't feel obvious yet. Even if everything around you still looks the same for now. Because change always starts internally before it shows externally, and you're already in that process, whether you realize it fully or not. And as you move forward from here, things will begin to make more sense. Opportunities will start to feel clearer. Decisions will feel less heavy. And that constant feeling of being stuck will slowly fade. Not overnight, but step by step, as you continue to act on what you now understand. And that's the part that matters most. Not this moment itself, but what you do after it. How you carry this awareness into your next choices, your next actions, your next direction, because this is where everything actually begins, not ends. And whether you look back at this as just another message or as the point where you finally started paying attention, that choice is yours. But one thing is certain, something in you has shifted, even if it's small, even if it's quiet. And that shift is enough to start changing everything from here on out.